and good morning to you. Welcome to Metro Television from our studios at Labone here in Accra. Also available on DSTV, channel 277. This is Newsbreak. It's one of our news platforms where you can know what's happening around you and the globe first on television. I am Ignatius Ano. Let me run by you our top stories making headlines this morning. 69th UN General Assembly opens in New York today. Former President Kufuor has already left the country, and ECOWAS Chair President Mahama is expected to use the platform to launch a campaign for more support to help Ebola-hit countries within the sub-region. U.S. President to announce plans to send at least 3,000 troops to Liberia to help fight the Ebola virus later today. IMF bailout talks scheduled to begin today amidst positive signs about the strength of the cedi, which saw a sharp decline since the beginning of this year. And still on the economy and Ghana's development, local government ministry to roll out a comprehensive program to assist assemblies to increase internally generated funds to help fight poverty. Also coming up, 254 communities in the central region connected to the national grid, bringing the universal access to electricity in the region to 96%. Civil society groups to publicly condemn and shun individuals, especially public officials, who sanction abuse of journalists as stakeholders resolve to resist attempts to intimidate reporters. Also ahead, daughter of Ghana's first president and chairman for the CPP, Samia Yaba Nkrumah, picks prestigious Pilosio Award in Italy. And you stand the chance of winning a whopping 125,000 cedis and other mouth-watering consolation prizes by opening a savings or current account with as little as 250 cedis at Societe Generale Ghana. More on this promo coming up later on Newsbreak. Hello again, and thank you for joining me on Newsbreak with me, Ignatius Ano. And don't forget, this program is also available on DSTV, channel 277. Let's take a closer look at the news now in detail. And the 69th Ordinary Session of the UN General Assembly opens in New York later today. This year's session opens at a time the world is struggling to deal with the deadly Ebola virus, which is threatening the stability of West African states. The global economic crisis and increasing terrorist activities led by ISIS rebels in Iraq and Boko Haram in Nigeria. Ghana's President John Mahama, who is also chairman for the ECOWAS, is expected to make a strong statement calling for strong commitment towards pledges made to prevent the disease from getting out of control. Yesterday, he visited 3 affected countries, Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea, where he also presented relief items to them. Here are extracts of the briefing on his arrival back home last night at the Kotoka International Airport.
Visiting these 3 countries is more than achieved. When you sit in a meeting with President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia, and they show appreciation, and they tell you that the president coming to them is something they will never forget, to show that President Mahama, the people of Ghana and ECOWAS did not abandon them in their greatest time of need. And this is said very deeply, then you know at that moment that going there, President Mahama going there, means a great lot to President Sirleaf and the people of Liberia. Then we go to Sierra Leone, to Freetown, and President Ernest Bai Koroma said something that is very deep. He told President Mahama, you're coming here to Freetown has broken the international isolation we have been feeling. And the help they need. Flights don't need to be cancelled. This kind of ostracization does not need to happen, because, as President Mahama is stressing, when you do that, you make the situation worse. They need all the logistical support, medical support. And then we go to Guinea. Guinea was like a second home based on the relationship that Ghana and Guinea have had over many years. The two leaders had a good chat. And in all three places, the president, on behalf of the people of Ghana, donated some made in Ghana items, rice, cooking oil, some dairy products packaged here in Ghana, and some cocoa products. So the objective has, in my opinion, been more than achieved. President Mahama during the trip stressed the fact that he heard from President Ellen Johnson Sirleaf of Liberia that some ships that should be docking in the free port of Monrovia to deliver cargo, some of the cargo, medication, food and other things needed to fight Ebola effectively. Some shipping lines are declining to do that. Airlines have stopped going there, and President Mahama is saying that yes, some decisions were taken maybe in panic, but now that we know, we have the facts, and we know more, the World Health Organization is also stressing that there is no need to have air embargoes or travel embargoes, and that with the right measures, this is what President Mahama stressed, with the right preventive and precautionary measures in all these places, the exit points, the entry points, normal flights should be able to resume, provided the precautions are taken, the preventive measures are in place. And he's urging the international community that the people in Liberia, Sierra Leone and Guinea should not be abandoned at this time. They should not be isolated at this time. They should not be ostracized. They deserve and they need all the help and support, even in dealing with the economic impact of what is happening.
The best strategy is to have a focused, coordinated regional approach instead of different countries taking different decisions like closing borders and banning flights. And this point was echoed by the West Africa Health Organization. When the ministers met, the ministers recommended to the presidents that the borders should be open. We must have open borders with checks instead of closed borders. And we do hope that when they get to New York, the presidents will be able to come together and agree on opening the borders. Because can you imagine if all borders are closed in the sub-region? Nothing will move. Then, I mean, it will affect our economy, our society, and also the moral fabric of our communities. We are better prepared, in the sense that we've done a lot of sensitization. And we're doing screening at all our entry points. And every health facility do have a place earmarked for isolation. In addition, we are also constructing 3 treatment centers. We haven't seen the whole land, but we are having 3 treatment centers. The one in Tama is almost complete. And then after that, within a month, I'm sure the Tamale and the Kumasi one will come on stream. So we are better prepared.
All right, so you heard from Dr. Kweku Agyeman-Mensah, Ghana's Minister for Health, talking to the media about exactly what Ghana is doing to attack the deadly Ebola virus. Early on, you heard from Ben Dochemalo, who is head of communications at the seat of government, running by us exactly what went down when President John Mahama met some affected countries by the Ebola virus when they arrived at the Kotoka International Airport yesterday. Let's bring you some more stories now. U.S. President Barack Obama is expected to announce plans to deploy about 3,000 troops to Liberia to help fight the spread of the deadly Ebola viral disease. U.S. officials say the troops will, among other things, be involved in the building of new treatment centers and distribute healthcare kits.
U.S. President Barack Obama is to announce plans to send 3,000 troops to Liberia to help fight the Ebola virus later today. U.S. officials say the U.S. military will oversee building new treatment centers and help train medical staff. It follows criticism of the slow international response to the epidemic. On Monday, Ghana President John Dramani Mahama said more and faster outside help was needed to slow the spread of the disease. Mr. Mahama also called for the easing of restrictions on West African countries, which he said had undermined the fight against the disease. United Nations officials are expected to discuss the international response to the Ebola outbreak in West Africa at a meeting in Geneva. U.S. officials saying the aim of the anti-Ebola initiative is to train up 500 healthcare workers a week, construct 17 healthcare facilities, each with about 100 beds, establish a joint command based in Monrovia, Liberia, to coordinate between U.S. and international relief efforts, distribute home healthcare kits to thousands of households, conduct a home and community-based campaign to train local people in how to handle patients, contact with infected blood, bodily fluids or organs, or indirectly.
Alright, so let's shift focus now away from the deadly Ebola virus, but still staying in the US of A, where President John Agyekum Kufuor has left Accra for New York to attend the UN General Assembly. A statement issued by his office says that he's expected to hold meetings with top officials of the World Bank and the United Nations, as well as address several high-level forums.
Former President John Agyekum Kufuor left Accra yesterday for Washington and New York to attend the UN summit. A statement issued by his office said he is expected to hold meetings with top officials of the World Bank and the UN, as well as address several high-level forums. President Kufuor would first stop over in Washington to lead executives of the Forum for Agricultural Research in Africa to hold discussions with the World Bank on ways of funding and supporting their work. It said he would be the guest of honor at the Frontiers for Development Forum of the United States Agency for International Development and also hold meetings with the Global Coalition of Neglected Tropical Diseases, of which he is the global envoy. In New York, President Kufuor, in his capacity as UN Special Envoy on Climate Change, would feature prominently in the UN Summit on Climate Change, where governments across the globe are expected to announce initiatives they are undertaking towards limiting global warming to 2 degrees of current levels. The statement said former President Kufuor would also attend the African Leaders Roundtable to be held before the summit and address meetings of the Mary Robinson and Gordon Brown Foundations, as well as that of the renowned accounting firm PricewaterhouseCoopers. The former president will be away for about 3 weeks. Meanwhile, there will be a press briefing to be addressed this morning by the Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration and the UN Resident Coordinator.
You're still watching Newsbreak Live from our studios at Labone here in Accra. We'll take a break, but when we return, I'll talk to you about the IMF bailout talks that has begun here in Accra right after the break. Please stay with me. Hello again, you're live on Newsbreak with me, Ignatius Ano. The International Monetary Fund IMF bailout talks is scheduled to begin today amidst positive signs about the strength of the cedi. The local currency depreciated by over 30% since the beginning of the year, but analysts say it has been making some gains against the dollar since last week, a sign of hope that will influence talks with the International Monetary Fund. The 2-week discussion will involve officials of the Finance Ministry and the Bank of Ghana and also review statistical data and how to ensure fiscal discipline.
Last week, government successfully achieved 2 major milestones to inject significant capital into the economy. On Thursday, government's attempt to raise $1 billion from the international capital market was oversubscribed with orders of up to $3 billion, while Cocoa Board signed a $1.7 billion trade finance deal, which was oversubscribed by 15%, with a consortium of domestic and international banks for the purchase of cocoa in the 2014-2015 crop season. The Eurobond, due in January 2026, was sold at a coupon rate of 8.125%, which was lower than analysts had expected, given the fiscal difficulties faced by the economy, which is expected to boost the country's position as it engages officials of the IMF this week. Many analysts and economists have described this as the best week over the last decade. Ahead of Tuesday's meeting with the officials from the International Monetary Fund, IMF, government appointed Professor Kwesi Botwe, who is Ghana's longest-serving finance minister and chairman of the National Development Planning Committee, to lead the talks. A team from the IMF is scheduled to begin the bailout talks following the oversubscription of Ghana's third Eurobond auction and the Cocoa Board syndicated loan, which bring a combined value of almost $3 billion into the economy. Professor Kwesi Botwe, chairman of the National Development Planning Commission, has been nominated by President John Dramani Mahama to lead government's discussion, which follows a period that many analysts and economists have described as the best week over the last decade. The timing of the bond is the subject of intense interest given the imminent IMF talks. Finance Minister Seth Terpeh, at the end of the pricing in New York, expressed satisfaction, emphasizing that the midterm prospects for Ghana are bright and hoped with the coming on board of the IMF, Ghana will soon come out of what he describes as short-term challenges. Mr. Terpeh further explained that $750 million of the Eurobond money will be used for capital expenditures, refinancing, and counterpart funding requirements, while an additional amount of about $250 million would provide seed capital for the Ghana Infrastructure Investment Fund that is scheduled for launch in January 2015. The cedi, which has since the beginning of the year received a serious thumping against the dollar, is reportedly gaining value on the back of the imminent IMF budgetary support and inflow of the Eurobond money.
And we still stay on the economy and Ghana's development. The local government ministry is rolling out a comprehensive program to assist various district assemblies to increase internally generated funds to help fight poverty. Sector Minister Julius Deborah has been speaking to Metro News about some of the initiatives which will also tackle sanitation issues.
The first thematic area is what we call the monkeys, and the monkeys have to deal with environmental sanitation. And so we've taken certain measures that we think in the short run should be able to help us improve on the environmental sanitation situation that we have now. The second thematic area that we also chose is what we call decentralization and the empowerment of the assemblies. You bear with me that most of the assemblies, unfortunately, look up to the District Assembly Common Fund or central government remittance as the only source of revenue or income to enable them develop their assemblies. But the assemblies are supposed to be local; they are supposed to be small governments on their own. And this time around, what we're trying to do differently is to try and encourage them through policies like the local economic development policy, the PPP policy, and a few other arrangements like intergovernmental fiscal framework, which will enable the assemblies to now look elsewhere for additional sources of revenue. Our strategy towards development has been, at the local government level, has been from the social point of view, where we say let's go and build a public toilet for everybody. We are going to introduce things that we call the small and micro enterprise development and SMEs, which we have coded Operation Own Your Business. And the objective here is that if we are able to empower the people, find certain things for them to do on their own, then their economic situation will improve and their lifestyle should also improve. There's a program going on in Tamale Metropolis now, which is they use what we call appropriate technology, local building materials, sand crates, and little things that are not too expensive as compared to the brick and mortar that we are used to. And our thinking is that since the project is ongoing in Tamale, once it is done and if we can replicate it in other assemblies, the process will involve inviting other assemblies to go and have a look at what has been done successfully in the Tamale Metropolis so that they can also introduce similar housing programs in their district. If we take our people to task by defining a plan, a working program that you want to follow, this country should move forward faster than the way we want to have.
All right, so you heard from the local government and rural development minister, Julius Deborah, speaking to us about some initiatives that his ministry intends to roll out to tackle poverty and sanitation in Ghana. Right now, let's bring you the latest update from the world of sports and my colleague, the very Beautiful. Akosia is on stem. Akosia, how do you do this morning?
How do you do?
Right, so yesterday you were talking to me about, Kwesi Appiah hadn't, not received his letter yet when we all know that he's been sacked. What's the latest on that?
Yes, still the same thing. He's still supposed to receive his letter, so we still have a story.
But the letter has still not got into him?
No, at all.
Well, that's interesting. Okay, so take it up from here.
Okay. Up next, we have sports news. The Ghana Football Association is yet to officially notify James Kwesi Appiah on his dismissal as the head coach of the Black Stars.
Despite the widespread of the news on the dismissal of Kwesi Appiah as the head coach of the Black Stars, the Ghana Football Association is yet to formally notify the former Stars trainer. Though Kwesi Appiah was communicated to verbally on his release last Friday, an official notification to the coach will open the door to negotiating his severance package. A close source to the coach revealed that some football associations on the continent are already knocking on his doors demanding his services.
Moving away from that story, on the international scene, former Deputy General of the Federation of International Football Association, FIFA, Jerome Champagne, insists he will be contesting incumbent Sepp Blatter for the FIFA presidential seat next year.
Former FIFA International Relations Director Jerome Champagne has confirmed his plan to challenge President Sepp Blatter in next year's presidential election. Champagne wrote on his campaign website that he informed FIFA's 209 member federations and the election supervisor Domenico Scala of his decision. The former French diplomat launched his campaign in London in January and said that he doubted that he could beat the current president. Blatter, the head of football since 1998, has said he intends to announce his candidacy next week in Zurich after meeting FIFA's executive committee. Champagne has declined to criticize Blatter publicly and has joined his former boss in questioning the role of wealthy European football clubs and their governing body UEFA, whose president Michel Platini last month decided not to run in the FIFA election. He has also called for FIFA to be more modern in its management and include clubs, leagues and players in decision-making. Candidates must have support from 5 FIFA member federations by late January and must have had an active role in football for 2 of the past 5 years.
Now that's it for sports. Over to you, Ignatius.
All right, Akosia, thank you very much. But I heard something very interesting this morning, that the former General Secretary of FIFA wants to compete with Sepp Blatter. Sepp Blatter is now like Mugabe FIFA, literally.
Yes, but it's a good race for FIFA. It will help Sepp Blatter and other officials to step up and do better.
But do you think he has a chance? I mean, is it likely that he's somebody who can rub shoulders with Sepp Blatter?
Not at all.
Okay, but it's good he's trying his best.
Yes, it's
Thank
good.
you. Have a good morning. And that's Akosia for you in the latest update from the world of sports. You're still watching Newsbreak live on Metro Television. More stories when I return. Stay with me. Hello again, you're welcome back to Newsbreak. Let's do some other stories now. And daughter of Ghana's first president and chairperson for the Convention People's Party, Samia Yabankumah, has picked this year's prestigious Pilosio Award in Italy. It is in recognition of her contribution to nation building and for conceiving the idea to build a memorial library in honor of Osajifo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah. Nana Kunedu of Ibobe witnessed the event and she reports.
Pilosio is a green building private company involved with the production of equipment and materials for construction sectors across the world. As part of its corporate social responsibility goals, the green building company, Pilosio, created the Pilosio Building Peace Award in 2011 to acknowledge globally the value of a project, person or organization creating infrastructure, urban renewal, or recovery and restoration of buildings that contributes to the improvement of living conditions as well as encourage tolerance and peace amongst people. In line with this, the 4th edition of the Pilosio Building Peace Award 2014 was given to the first woman ever, Samia Yaba Nkrumah in Venice, Italy, with 300 guests from more than 20 different countries. The award was granted for her commitment to follow her father's footsteps towards realizing a self-reliant, peaceful and united Africa and promoting the ambitious project to construct a presidential library dedicated to the legacy of Osagyefo Dr. Kwame Nkrumah, designed by the architect Mario Cucinella. The Kwame Nkrumah Presidential Library is envisaged primarily to be an interactive place of encounter and exchange of experience and training, innovation, economy, politics and culture throughout the African continent. The library project will be realized by stakeholders including the youth of Ghana and by all who want to contribute to building a new model for Africa. While commending the organizers for honoring her sister, Gamal Nkrumah says Ghana should be proud for the achievement and urged all to support and encourage women in politics. Also present was former Secretary General of UN Kofi Annan and Nobel Prize winner Betty Williams, among others, who commended Pilosio Company for their annual move. Also present was former Secretary General of the UN, Kofi Annan, and Nobel Prize winner Betty Williams, among others, who commended Pilosio Company for their annual move.
All right, so we say congratulations to Samia Yaba Nkrumah for being the first woman to win the Pilosio Award in Italy. We have more on that story and our interaction with her in Italy in our subsequent news bulletin. But that's it for Newsbreak at this hour. Before I go, let me run by you our top stories again. 69th UN General Assembly opens in New York today. Former President Kufuor already leaves in Accra to attend the event with ECOWAS Chair John Dramani Mahama expected to use the platform to launch a campaign for more support to help Ebola-hit countries within the sub-region. The U.S. president is to announce plans to send at least 3,000 troops to Liberia to help fight Ebola later today. IMF bailout talks scheduled to begin today amidst positive signs about strength of the cedi, which saw a sharp decline since the beginning of this year. Local government ministry to roll out a comprehensive program to help assemblies increase internally generated funds to help fight poverty. ...254 communities in the central region connected to the national grid. Civil society groups publicly condemn and shun individuals, especially public officials, who sanction abuse of journalists as stakeholders, resolve to resist any attempt to intimidate reporters. Daughter of Ghana's first president and chairperson of the CPP, Samia Nkrumah, picks prestigious Pilosio Award in Italy. You stand the chance of winning a whopping 125,000 cedis and other mouth-watering consolation prizes by opening a savings or current account with as little as 250 cedis with Societe Generale Ghana. More on that story later on Newsbreak. And that's it for Newsbreak at this particular hour. I am Ignatius Anum. I thank you for watching. Join me again in 30 minutes for the latest update of stories in Ghana and beyond. Good morning.